It's Friday. It's my day off. I get to dress the way I like. I get to do the things I want to do. Or do I? Now that I think about it, I have to spend some of my time taking care of the outside of the house so that I don't disappoint the neighbors. They have expectations upon me that I will keep the house up to certain neighborhood standards. I have expectations placed upon me by my family that I will do the things inside the house that they expect me to do each week. And if we're honest, I have expectations upon myself that I'll do the things that I need to do that will allow me to continue to be the person of God, the man of God, the husband, father, grandfather, community member, even pastor that I believe God has called me to be. And so it may be Friday, but it's really not all about me. If I really want my life to be in balance, I have to keep my eyes on the goal. And the goal is to be the person that God has called me to be and to do the things that God has called me to do. Now, I share all that with you because I believe that it relates to where we're at in our Advent study. I believe that these are important thoughts for us as we weigh what it means to have a different kind of Christmas this year. I believe we all have fears and doubts. Being a pastor, having a seminary degree or two does not protect me from fear and doubt. But hopefully it equips me to be the person God has called me to be. Mary, I'm no Mary. Mary, who had one of the most, maybe the most significant encounter with God that human history will ever record. Mary, who was about to become pregnant. Mary, who had a one-on-one encounter with a manifestation of God through an angel. Mary, who had this encounter, still had her fears and doubts. Luke writes about it in the first chapter in verses 34 and 35. He writes, "Mary said to the angel, 'How can this be, since I am a virgin?' And the angel said to her, 'The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child to be born will be holy. He will be called Son of God.'" Wow. Now, after that, you've got to think everything's good, right? Everything's going to go the way one would plan. This is a great story with a happy ending. And there may be a happy ending. There is a happy ending, a good news ending eventually. But not yet. Because Mary's just a young woman, a young girl. Mary, who is not yet sexually active, has to go back to her parents now and tell them, "Mom, Dad, I need you to know I have not betrayed you, nor have I betrayed our family values, but I'm pregnant." Pregnant? Can you imagine the response that they must have yielded? Can you imagine how they must have, what they must have been thinking? I'm sure the question came up, well, who's the father? Well, funny thing about that, Mary says, the father is God. Sure, right, God. And now imagine the shame as they have to go and inform Joseph that the arrangement that they had made for the marriage of this older man to their daughter is now hanging in the balance. Perhaps he will not fulfill his obligation since Mary has apparently not fulfilled hers. How will they respond? How will he respond? How will the village respond? Mary was full of fears and doubts. Friends, these are hard times right now, challenging times, scary times. And I want you to know that I have those same kinds of fears and doubts. I have fears and doubts about the future, and I want to be so in control as so many of us do. But my fears and doubts take me back to a Thursday in March. I believe it was the 12th of March. And on that day, I was out walking. I just needed to clear my head. I needed to get out and exercise. I needed to get out and think because I had been in constant communication with folks at church and with other church pastors of churches similar to West Lawn. And we had to decide what to do. The governor was laying out new requirements, new regulations, new restrictions. And how would we as a church respond? It was during that walk that I finally made the decision that we would suspend in-person worship for 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks, of course, turned into 3.5 months. And it was only later when the governor changed our status from red to yellow that we began to contemplate, well, when can we regather for worship? Now, we had been worshiping, of course, online all through that period, but when could we gather together again safely? When could the people of God come together? And we ultimately made that call. It wasn't an easy call. It was not a unanimous call. Some have questioned it, the wisdom of that decision. Some have wondered whether we have perhaps been irresponsible. I hear those concerns. They stir up within me fears and doubts. But I believe we've done the right thing. I believe it because God has been blessing what we've been doing. It was on January 15th that we held our first no persons present online only worship experience. And it was on July 5th that we regathered once again with people in the sanctuary, albeit about a third of the number that used to gather, but about a third of those people, about 200 over 4 services, began to gather in our sanctuary. When we made that call to go to online only worship, I worried. How are we going to keep the doors open? How are we going to sustain our vital ministries? And how are we going to pay the bills, keep the lights on, and keep this church moving forward? Well, friends, as you know, we've been able to do the things that God has called us to do. Through your generosity and the generosity of so many others, we have been able to not only meet our obligations, but support our missionaries and continue in vital and life-sustaining and life-changing ministries right here in Berks County and in Haiti and elsewhere. God has blessed us in so many ways because I believe we have been doing the things God wanted us to do. I know these are difficult times and I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. And the giving of this church, the sustaining of our ministry, the continuing of in-person worship without people contacting or contracting or being infected by the COVID virus has been nothing less than miraculous. And I believe that in this Advent season, God's going to do something miraculous once again. On November 29th, I shared with the folks in worship, those present in the sanctuary and those online watching, I shared with them that we are going to receive yet again another Christmas miracle offering. Maybe this year more than any year, it's truly going to be a miracle offering because we are counting on God. We're trusting that God is going to provide. And whatever God provides is what we will distribute. As we've done every year since 2012 with our Christmas offering, every penny that is received will be poured back into the ministry of our mission partners here in Berks County and around the world. We will use those dollars faithfully to feed the hungry, shelter the homeless, build homes for the working poor, share the good news of God with people in times of despair and crisis. We will share the good news of Jesus Christ with all who want to hear it. Friends, I believe God is on the verge of doing something miraculous once again. It's what we do in the coming days and weeks is not about us, but it's all about God. And Mike Slaughter, in a transforming moment at Ginghamsburg Church in Ohio, challenged his people to truly love their neighbors as they love themselves. And he puts it simply this way: whatever it is that you're going to spend on your family and friends, bring an equal amount to the church. Not for the church, not for the electric bill, not for my salary, but for God. So that we can be about the work of loving God with all our heart and soul and mind and strength, loving one another, and loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. For this is what the scriptures command. This is what the Bible challenges us to do, and I believe this might be the seed of the miracle that God is planting in your heart and in mine this Advent and always. I know I've gone long today, but thanks for hanging in there with me. Thanks for tuning in each day in these daily devotionals. May you have a wonderful Friday, and may God be with you till we meet again.